The rain poured heavily over the streets of Austin, Texas, the kind of rain that made people rush indoors and cancel plans. But inside the grand auditorium at the university, the seats were full. People didn't come here to escape the weather. They came for something far greater. Word had spread fast. Admiral William H. McRaven, the decorated Navy SEAL, was about to give a speech. Not just any speech, they said. Something special, something unforgettable. Among the sea of faces sat a young man named Daniel Reyes, 22, recently graduated and unsure of his place in the world. He had stumbled upon the event by accident, pulled in by the crowd and curiosity. He had no military background, no plans. To enlist, no real direction. What he did have was a tired heart, a mind full of doubt and a feeling that he wasn't doing anything that mattered. As the lights dimmed and the Admiral approached the podium, the room hushed to silence. Dressed in a simple dark suit, McRaven didn't look like someone who had commanded SEAL teams or led missions in dangerous parts of the world. He looked calm, ordinary. But as he began to speak, something shifted. He didn't open with stories of war or medals or tactics. Instead, he spoke of a bed. "If you want to change the world," he said, "start by making your bed." The audience chuckled, unsure if he was serious. He was. That simple act, he explained, teaches discipline, encourages pride, and builds momentum. If you can't do the small things right, you'll never do the big things right. Daniel leaned forward, oddly moved. But it wasn't just the wisdom in McRaven's words. It was the way he told them with a quiet passion, a kind of fatherly strength that didn't demand respect but earned it. The speech continued, filled with lessons learned from Navy SEAL training. Cold, exhaustion, failure, pain. But interwoven in his stories of toughness were deep threads of kindness and humanity. He spoke about the swim buddy, the person you always had with you because alone you'd never survive. He spoke about the sugar cookie drill, where no matter how perfect your performance, you'd still be punished. Because life is not fair, and resilience is built not by fairness but by character. Then he told a story that silenced even the whispers in the room. It was about a mission gone wrong overseas. His team was ambushed. A young medic named Chris had every chance to run to save himself, but he turned back. He ran into gunfire to help a wounded local boy who wasn't even part of their unit, just a child caught in the chaos. Chris carried the boy half a mile to safety. He took a bullet in the leg, collapsed from blood loss, but never let the child go. When McRaven found them, Chris was barely conscious, whispering, "He's just a kid. I couldn't leave him." The boy survived. Chris didn't. McRaven paused. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what courage looks like. That is humanity. And that, his voice cracked ever so slightly, is the power of one selfless choice. In that moment, Daniel felt something shift inside him. He had spent so long worrying about what he should do for himself, career, status, money, that he'd forgotten what it meant to live for something bigger. He looked around and saw others, wiping tears not out of sadness but inspiration. As the Admiral wrapped up his speech, his final words struck like lightning. "If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not the size of their title." The audience rose in thunderous applause. But Daniel didn't clap right away. He just stood there, heart pounding, as if he had heard something not just with his ears but with his soul. After the speech, the crowd flooded out into the rain, now gentle and warm. Daniel stood under a tree, lost in thought, when he noticed an older man struggling to carry groceries through the parking lot. Without thinking, he rushed over to help. "Thank you," the man said, catching his breath. "You didn't have to." Daniel smiled. "I know. But maybe that's the point." From that day forward, Daniel changed. Not all at once, not in some grand Hollywood fashion, but in small, quiet ways. He began volunteering at a local shelter. He started tutoring kids after school. He applied to grad school, not for business, as he had planned, but for social work. It wasn't glamorous and it didn't make him rich, but every day he felt richer. Months later, he visited a local high school to give a talk about finding purpose. He told them about the Admiral's speech, about the fallen medic, about making your bed and choosing kindness even when no one's watching. Afterward, a girl named Leah approached him, tears in her eyes. "I was going to drop out," she said. "But I think maybe I can still make something of my life. Thank you." He didn't know what to say. He just nodded, remembering what McRaven had said. One person, one choice, can ripple across the world. Years passed. Daniel grew into a man of quiet influence. He never forgot that rainy night in Austin, never forgot the words that lit his way when he was lost. And though he never met Admiral McRaven in person, he carried the lessons in his heart. And one day, speaking at a veterans fundraiser, Daniel stood at the podium and began with a familiar line. "If you want to change the world, start by making your bed." The crowd smiled. And somewhere in the audience, an old Navy veteran nodded slowly, knowing his legacy was alive. Not through medals or ranks, but through ordinary people doing extraordinary things with kindness, courage, and the belief that humanity still matters.